All right, here we go. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar and blocking some time in your day for us. Today we're going to talk about agentic maturity and why it's important. We will cover different levels of maturity and how you can move up that curve. Also, we'll talk about how you can identify where you currently sit on the framework. Now, first things first, it is a framework, and as we will see, reality is always a little bit more messy, but it's a mental map you can use to orient yourself on where you are and potentially which actions to take. But more importantly, we are here to show also a few demos made with Agentforce, Snowflake, Tableau, usage of Cloud, OpenAI, etc., etc. So bear with us. And yes, I might go a little bit over time. It's the first time I run the content we had for 40 minutes, but it might be a little bit longer. So I appreciate people having hard cutoffs. Before we dive in, let me introduce myself. My name is Tim, and at Biztory, I am the domain lead AI and Agentic Analytics. I have been active in the space for over almost 15 years now, coming from doing analytics consultancy to following up very closely what's moving in the space of AI and agent analytics. All right. The next wave of AI transformation has already begun. If you're on the internet or you read the news, you will notice that a lot of stuff is happening. But when we have a look at the past 10 years, let's say, we tend to speak about three different waves. Where the first wave was all about predictive capabilities being embedded into technology. Think of things like everybody needed to have forecasts, predictive models, recommender systems on their websites, recommending products to customers, etc., predicting customer lifetime value, etc. That was, at the time, still called statistics or data science, the predictive era, let's say. Still valid, still relevant today and tomorrow, but yes, the focus by then was really on the predictive. Wave 2 was not too long ago, although in academic and research domains, this already exists for way over a decade, maybe decades. By now, we speak about the generative wave. And yeah, let's say my grandparents, your parents, your kids, your peers are using ChatGPT, and for a lot of people, the moment the GPT products entered the market and it quickly became a leader, we can literally speak about mass adoption there. Before OpenAI reaching 1 million users, it was the iPhone taking 474 days, having their 1 millionth user. By comparison, that we can really call it a wave, ChatGPT went to 1 million users in 5 days. I think it's safe to say we're really in the middle of it. 2025, Gen AI, generative AI was all over the place, but we are now looking already at what's coming next, and which is called the autonomous wave. Now, the third wave of AI, they say, is going to be agentic. Agentic as in the machine, the AI getting some agency, maneuverability in your company, your systems, and data-wise. Now, what we notice, and this might be frightening and comforting at the same times, when we look around, many organizations have piloted AI over the past months or 2-3 years from the generative and autonomous side. And we see that, 95 of the AI pilots are failing. There are a lot of reasons why they do. Fragmented data and apps. AI is only as good as the data as it can access. If your data is trapped in silos or in disparate apps, the AI remains shallow and accurate, of course. Secondly, security exposures. This is, to some extent, dangerous technology. It can do a lot, and that goes the good way and the bad way. Moving from a pilot to production introduces risks regarding data privacy, prompt injection, and of course, regulatory compliance that many teams aren't prepared for yet today. Thirdly, spiraling costs. A pilot is cheap, scaling it is not. And it might be fun to do some little isolated AI agent, etc. But really making sure it's inside your company takes a little bit more time. And without a clear architectural strategy to compute any API costs, and of course, the calling of the models can quickly outpace the projected ROI. And last but certainly not least, failed adoption. If nobody is using it, the actual intrinsic value of your undertakings will become near zero. If nobody cares, if it sits there, nobody uses it, then it will have no impact on your business. Now, before we go, and my colleague Arend will pop up the poll if everything goes right, we're interested to know. Before we go, what is your primary challenge you have witnessed recently when doing AI activation today? You will see a few options. Was it for you, A, the data foundations, B, more because of security and governance reasons? Was it C, cost management? Because as managed, there was a time where you bought a license and you calculated the volume of your data pipelines and you could make a ballpark estimation. With the arrival of token consumptions and some very flexible ways of vendors charging you, it's not always evident to calculate the costs. Then, of course, architecture complexity can be a reason, and as I mentioned, adoption and strategy. So I'm gonna give a few seconds for you guys to answer. We're very keen to know. What are your greatest challenges? I hope you all found the poll answers trickling in. And in doing so, I will continue with the talk. So most organizations focus on the pilot. But to increase your level of maturity, you need to do more than just a prompt and a feedback loop. To avoid the famous iceberg risks we just discussed, we have to look at AI as a standalone tool and start viewing it as a multiple pillared architecture. Most organizations fail because they focus only on the agent, the end product, the shiny thing, the cherry, let's say. But yeah, actually they are neglecting the fundamentals. And coming with Biztory from a context of making a lot of dashboards in the past, data quality, data maturity has always been important, of course, but in the agentic era, it will be increasingly important. Your AI needs to securely tap into your data warehouses and lakes, like Data Cloud, Snowflake, AWS, the Google Clouds, and what else your guys are using. But it also needs to understand unstructured data. And for a lot of companies, that's new. The PDFs, your reports, your PowerPoints, your files, actually all text heavy, or maybe even audio and video files need to be very carefully selected and structured in order to be downstream more successful as an AI project. And then, of course, they all need to be connected. AI cannot live in a bubble. It has to be embedded into the apps and the workflows your team uses every day, whether that's for budgeting and forecasting or operations and planning or logistics. When you focus on this entire ecosystem, then rather just a chatbot, you solve already the fragmentation and adoption issues that kill most pilots. You aren't just building something cool, you really need to build something for scale, an enterprise AI backbone, let's say. You're building, and that's where I wanted to end, you're building your agent maturity of your agentic maturity of your company. Now, the framework, 4 levels of agentic maturity. You read this from left to right. We'll dive in where needed. And again, it's a theoretical framework. It's a mental map to orient yourself and your roadmap onto. From the left side, you see the chatbots going from automating repetitive tasks with predefined rules to the North Star on the right side, a multi-agent orchestration. There's a lot in between there, and hopefully I can also guide you through. But let's start with the start. And last question, I promise last poll. Where would you place your organization's current AI initiatives on the maturity scale? Is that A, very minimal rule-based bots for doing frequently asked questions such as password resets? Or are you level 1? Do you have a few pilot tools for information retrieval and some basic recommendation actions? Level 1 doesn't really act on your system. It doesn't do CRUD operations, create, read, update, delete. It's read-only assistance, let's say. Level 2, simple agents, where you start automating across one environment, but the agent gets more agency. It can create a record. It can send out an email. It really gets the trust of your company to act on your systems. Then level D, 3 and 4, spoiler, not a lot of companies are there, but people are really, there are a few getting there. Multi-system agents communicating with each other, not necessarily with a human in the loop. Scary thought, we'll come back to that, or E, not sure. Normally the poll should have shown up on the screen. We are really keen to know where you are at. All right, let's go. So the chatbots, we come from a situation at this level. We are talking about fixed rules or repetitive tasks. Essentially, this is the automation we probably have been using for years, and it's just a decision tree. The big difference with everything that comes after level 0 is there was no OpenAI, Anthropics, and Google's putting models, LLMs on the market to have semantic interpretation. So the user was very limited in terms of what he could utter towards the machine. So if you said something like with problem or reset in combination with password, then probably the decision tree would be able to look up an article helping the user for resetting his password. Very simple, very logically strict from a usability perspective. Ideal for very repetitive tasks, but the moment people start asking additional questions, these type of chatbots would quickly fail. So here we visually have a representation. The user says something to the chatbot. A logical decision tree will very rigidly determine what article the user might be interested in and returns it to the user. All right, let's go one level up. AI assistants. Assistants help humans by recommending actions and retrieving information. Mostly single-purpose agents, also called information retrieval agents. Agents that assist humans by retrieving information and, as I said, recommend actions. Again, and this is maybe funny, it's again the same example, answering frequently asked questions and handling basic inquiries like password resets. Now, the biggest difference is these level 1 assistants make use of language models, LLMs, which semantically can interpret what the user is intending to accomplish. That's a huge shift, way better UI when configured correctly, way higher levels of understanding the intent of the user. Now, let's have a look at an example. So here you see a schema. So the user asks something to the AI assistant. Now that AI assistant tries to interpret what it's doing, but a model is only a model and it needs to have a knowledge base. There's a lot of things going on about context. We thought prompt engineering would be the skill of the future. It's becoming very apparent that feeding your AI assistants with your company rules, your company knowledge, your company files, that is the key part which makes your AI model so smart. So any good functioning AI assistant will need to have a context, in this case, a knowledge base. The context can also be fed additionally by a CRM. That's the reason why Salesforce has such strong positioning, because where other vendors are maybe offering tools to really provide that context, Salesforce succeeds in putting those features inside the CRM, that if a customer asks something, we know the customer, we know who you are, you know what you have ordered with us, you know which emails you have sent us. So questions are being dealt with the context of who, where, and what is being asked. Of course, HubSpot logo, possible that HubSpot is your context as well, of course. And then it will retrieve something and the user will be helped ideally. Fine. And these kind of little assistants in a silo, in a specific software, we see pop up everywhere. Tableau has done a tremendous job. For example, we see here Tableau agent operating on a Tableau cloud or a Tableau server. Rather single purpose. The context he operates on is here in the top left. You see 3 data sources. The user can ask analytical questions, and the assistive agent will help with a visualization. Things that would require a while ago a little bit of technical knowledge, because when we go in at the customer, we help with the idea of self-service. That in the past would involve teaching the end user how to use the tool. These days, with natural language, people can help themselves. Spoiler, what is the limitation? And although this product is evolving very fast, if you ask an analytical question, its purpose is to return a viz. So you can ask him what would my strategy for this year needs to be. He will do his best to find an answer in there, but that's about where it ends. Another example, Tableau Prep also has a Tableau agent these days. Level 1 assistive agent. He operates within the context of a data preparation tool. The whole idea there is people, for example, who aren't too familiar with the syntax of the tool, need a little bit of help with data preparation. Instead of going to Google, how do I calculate this or this? In the tool, the agent will help by writing the formulas, splitting the columns, doing the find and replaces, helping with the modeling, etc., etc. Now, for a third example, now things get a little bit more interested. There was a moment of time where we were asked a lot to embed dashboards in the app, in workflows, but we now increasingly see the request to, can you please embed our level 1, level 2 agent on our website, for example. And I need to jump to my other screen here. So here we are on a very minimal website. Sorry for the Biztory logo here, but your focus should be here. I'm gonna start a new conversation. In this chatbot, it has access to all my data on Tableau. Imagine that you have a dashboard, and on top of this, you can ask stuff. So what sources do I have access to? My agent is capable of identifying the sources, checking what my intent will be, and try to answer my questions. Note big difference with ChatGPT would have locally. This is operating with my permissions I have in my corporation on the data sources I have determined me, myself, or the logged in user is capable of answering. So imagine that I have a question about customer support. How many cases do I have? It will now launch a query to my Tableau server environment. And if everything goes well, a question will be returned. I'm aware these are very easy questions, but we are building up. If you're interested in seeing what the limits of the MCP connections are, do reach out. So yeah, 300 cases. I can split by priority, for example. I can slice and dice. I could even ask more complex questions. The model of OpenAI, because this is the Tableau MCP plus OpenAI agent builder being embedded, can do way more analytical stuff. But that's not the scope of this little example. Other situation, same principle. What if you want to have both? You have a dashboard, but you want to offer your users the possibility of having that AI agent where they work, where they analyze. Just to show you how many cases do I have. Just to show you that both are in sync. There's a connection problem. Probably I'm not plugged in anymore. Sorry for that. It might be the concurrency, which it has not been configured for. Yes. So I could here ask how many cases, and it would be able to answer all of the same questions. All right. Next example. Maybe you're using Claude today. Maybe you're using ChatGPT. Another example of a level 1 agent would be me having access to Claude on my desktop, but making use of the Tableau Next MCP to communicate with all my dashboards, my data in Tableau Next. I do not need to navigate to a location on the server, log into Salesforce. No, it could be as easy as, and I could show it, but I need to make sure that I have my right MCP connections on. Just a second, I'm checking something on my screen. Yes, that should work. So I am in the middle of work and I have a question. I can have a very frictionless experience by just clicking on Cloud, and I can ask, what tools do I have available on my Tableau MCP server? And I, as a user, and I need to drag it into the screen because it opened here. So here you see, it will provide me with the possibility of directly from this interface start asking analytical questions and retrieve information from me. So I could say stuff like total sales past year, anything you could imagine, really. All right. And then, of course, I showed it how frictionless by clicking on the integration, I actually have direct access to all my data. I set Tableau server, but it could be your Snowflake databases, your Databricks databases, being fed with your semantic layer. That's a totally different discussion. Just to show you how direct the current solutions can be in terms of accessing your data from everywhere. And then, and that's what I wanted to show you as well. For doing that, I need to bring on my Slack interface. At Biztory, we are very heavy users of Slack. And everything I just showed you, what sources can I query? I can talk with my Tableau server. I can talk with my Snowflake databases, with my Databricks, anything really, because MCP has become a common good. Now, this is all read-only. As we will see as we move up the agentic maturity, we will allow, as trust grows, as here you can see what I have on my Tableau Next. It's a demo environment. We'll be able to let it perform updates or deletes, really do work for you. All right. And of course, before I forget, everything I show you is of course possible from Teams as well. We use Slack. Slack is a Salesforce product, but everything is possible from Teams as well, of course. All right, we move up to level 2. Autonomously conduct low task complexity tasks in a siloed data environment or context. What is it? Agents that autonomously orchestrate low complexity tasks in a siloed data environment. Just a second, please. The fundamental shift here is going from recommendation to action. While level 1 retrieves the data for a person to use, level 2 agents can autonomously conduct the tasks at hand. Think of it as the specialist in a box. It has a clear boundary, perhaps only lives within your service console or a specific logistics database, for example, but within that boundary. It doesn't suggest an answer, it executes a potential workflow. So it has really agency. For example, User asks a question to the AI agent. Now, this time it can do a multitude of actions, tools, skills. And the notion of skill or tool or action are very, very relevant, as you will see down the road. If I ask him a question, it's able to schedule meetings for me, update a profile, or maybe execute a refund. And actually, it has the agency or the permissions to do that on your backend. The user will only be informed, best case, that these actions are being completed, and he does not need to worry about what happens. To some extent, the employee agents, how Salesforce position them, are kind of level 2 agents. They go beyond pure information retrieval, and they are capable of performing stuff on your server. Do I have that open here? So, for example, I am working in Salesforce. At the top right, I always have my employee agent at my disposal, and he can do more than just retrieve. If I ask him to create a case, he has the permissions to execute a case. I give him a name, a case subject, I give him a description, I click submit, the case gets created. If I ask him to write an email, he will do so. Now, jumping a little bit forward, maybe, when you are involved with Agentforce or looking at it, one thing that Salesforce has done a tremendous job is avoiding that you guys try to, how do you say it in English, but we say don't reinvent the warm water. When you are in Agentforce and Agent for Agents, and I'm going to open my employee agent here, the default one, you can extend its capabilities in a modular way. What do I mean by that? So if I deactivate my agent, Salesforce has a lot out of the box topics, topics where you want to give agency to your agent. Do you want to give it agency to close deals? That will mean it will be able to access the deal, change the deal, close the deal, maybe send emails. Do you want it to be able to set data alerts? Do you want it to be able to post to Slack? Do you want it to create or launch a marketing campaign for you? So if you dive into Agentforce, have a look what is there out of the box, because there's so much being packaged in a modular way. Of course, it needs some fine tuning, don't get me wrong, but don't start building the technical flows for the skills of your agent, because a lot of stuff is already there out of the box. All right, back to the presentation. 30 minutes in, gonna speed up. Voice agents, to some extent, are perfect level 2 examples. We know this, it's not very known what these things are being capable of, because, for example, a customer recently asked me, yeah, Tim, those voice agents sounds nice, but what the hell are we going to do with all those transcriptions of those phone calls? Well, that's not how it works. You can configure an agent with a personality, tasks, it listens to who is calling, and I'm gonna do this a little bit forward. It captures the intent, it authenticates, it can very specifically identify pieces of information from that conversation and save it to column fields in your system objects of Salesforce, Snowflake, whatever your database is. And of course, how you use it in the beginning, you probably want to identify high frequency, low complexity tasks with the human still in the loop. You will be considering offloading some of the work to him, but the human needs to be there in case the agent is not capable of. I'm going to do a live demo, so bear with me. There's always a chance things go wrong.
Good afternoon, dear participants of the Agentic Maturity webinar hosted by Biztory. I hope the host is not boring you too much with all his live demos. I am the Salesforce AI assistant. Shall I help you in English, Dutch, or French?
I'm muting myself. It can help me in 3 different languages, but for this demo, I will say English. English, please.
Hello, I'm here to help with your HR questions. To start, could I please get your phone number?
0497-848859. So it will do a lookup on my contact object.
Just to confirm, your phone number is 0497-848-859.
And try to find me.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
I found your record. Is it Tim Dries?
Yeah, that's me. So she found me in the context.
Great, you're all set in our system. Now, what's your HR question?
So my boss asked me to do overwork this weekend. I just relocated from somewhere else. And is that actually allowed in Belgium? And please answer briefly because I'm in the middle of a webinar and I only have 10 minutes left.
I understand you're asking about overtime regulations in Belgium. Overtime generally requires prior authorization and is subject to strict limits, with a maximum of 11 hours per day and 50 hours per week. It must be compensated with a wage supplement and
so it's now using its knowledge base to assist me. And I'm going to say yes. Yeah, you helped me rather well. Thank you. You can.
Glad I could help. Your case has been logged for your records with case number 500Q00002, SIL-Q5IAJ. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, wonderful. Have a great day.
Thank you for calling. Have a great day.
Now, a few things happened. He asked me, who are you? He did a lookup in the contact database. He found Tim Dries with my number. Then he asked me, what is your question? Then she checked, can I answer this question? The answer is yes, so she starts responding. If I would have asked the question she wasn't able to answer, it would still create a case, but with the status open, so a human in the loop will serve as a level 8. Now I can say whatever I want, of course. So what I wanted to show you, I am in the org on which it has been configured. And of course, I tested this right before the webinar just to be sure. The case is locked with closed. The caller subject has been parsed from the conversation. The caller asked about overtime regulations, especially blah, 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 blah. And here you see how he answered it. I think this is not the biggest case, but this is maybe an entry point for you to reason about that. Nobody likes data inputting. Nobody likes doing repetitive stuff. Find your high frequency, low complexity work and consider it offloading to an agent. All right, but I need to move forward because time is ticking. So we move to the next level. Collaborative AI agents autonomously conduct multiple workflow actions with harmonized data across multiple domains or channels. And it's really the multiple domains or channels that is important, because vendors are positioning themselves as being or having the agentic offering. Reality will be most companies are using multiple tools, multiple architectures. And at the end of the day, you want to think about how do these things nicely interact with each other. Now, the challenge with single agents is the agent has too many tools potentially at its disposal. It starts to make poor decisions. You have to think about it. I just showed you Claude and maybe people who use it. You can start ramping up the tools it has. It can maybe talk to other agents. There will be a moment in time you're trying to squeeze in too much into a single entity. The context can grow too complex for a single agent to keep track of, also possible. And when there is need for specialization areas in a system, you might want to try to isolate and make it singular, not singular, but entities on their own. So agents that autonomously orchestrate multiple workflows with harmonized data across multiple domains. Here it might get a little bit confusing, and we're open for discussion there. Well, what is an agent? What is a service? When a technical IT person looks at it, probably can say, oh, that's not an agent, that's just a service you call. So bear in mind, always be aware, an agent or an agentic service can become very blurry. Especially when you think about it, we are used to seeing the first agents conversate with us. We expect them to utter text to us, but when it comes down to machine communication, there is no need for having prosa, to have text. It's just machines executing actions between each other. Like Elon Musk predicts, there will be a moment in time where computers talk binary with each other, and actually we have no clue what they're saying, but we're not there. I'm gonna skip this for sake of time, but another nice example, I think, is the Slack bot agent operating across multiple pillars, multiple contexts in terms of data. My Slack agent, and I did it earlier this week, what actions can you perform for me? It has access to all I've ever said on Slack. It has access to my mails. It has access to our company Drive and my HubSpot. It goes without saying that if you have a smart model like Google, Anthropic, and OpenAIs of this world, they can get pretty smart in combining these little bits of information, helping me in accomplishing tasks and answering questions with data that sits across multiple environments. A lot of words to say. The Slackbot agent has a wide range of contexts and agentic services it can leverage in order to answer a question for me. For example, and I think I have it open here, Snowflake has a very nice agentic offering as well. If you're a Snowflake user, do dive into Snowflake Intelligence, both from the so-called Cortex analyst perspective, more like query-like questions, versus the Cortex search, where you ask an agent to search your documents or PDF. Those can be put together in an orchestration and really, really nicely operate together. Now, for the little demo I was having in mind, I here have my Superstore agent. Well, two agents actually. I'm going to move back to my slide. The whole idea is I have one agent specialized in all my order data, and I have a second Snowflake Intelligence agent, which is configured to know everything about returns, helping me to facilitate returns. And in that way, you could, when you call them from Cloud, see it as Cloud being the orchestrator, being the delegator, the interpreter, the classifier. There's a lame word to say that, but I made this little demo here, like find all Johns. That question will go to the order agent, find me all the Johns that ever made an order. And I have a second question, also tell me if CA 2015 blah, 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 was a returned offer or not. So two distinct questions. The orchestrator agent will determine what is being asked, who should deal with this, and here you nicely see that the Cortex agents are being called sequentially, but both, and that the orchestrator agent gets, sorry, it's a little bit small, gets an answer to both questions. So it says, yes, order CA, blah, 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 is returned order, and here you go. These three Johns have made an order for you. Just to show you, and I intentionally used Snowflake for it, and I often laugh with it, but we live in times where output and input, you can connect everything with everything. It really comes down to what are the processes we want, how do we want to work, where do we want to access it, what are the guardrails, etc., etc. But I need to go because I said I was going to go a little bit over time. I probably will with 5 or 10 minutes. People with hard deadlines or hard stops, feel free to jump, but cool stuff still happening. Level 4, agent to agent. As we move there, we move beyond the individual agents, no matter how complex. We enter the world of true so-called ecosystem operability. The defining characteristic here is the agent-to-agent communication across disparate software stacks. Think of it as the manager level for your digital workforce. Instead of a human having to trigger every collaborative workflow, the agents have the agency to call each other. The human role shifts. It moves from being an operator to a high-level supervisor in some cases. But yeah, this is emerging technology. Only a few companies are really getting there. Now, we cannot talk about agent to agent without referring to Google. Google has done the effort of putting a protocol out there for the sake of compatibility, for the sake of security, for the sake of making it easier for cross-vendor tools to communicate with each other. They have put out a protocol that determines how agents can interact with each other. And I took this picture because it's really a nice visualization of what we allow these agents to do. And at the top, you see there an agent card. And yes, you can think of it as a business card. It's where the agent discloses to the other agent, what's my name, what's my description, what am I intended to do, what are my skills, tools I am allowed to trigger, to launch in order to serve you. Yeah, what the question whether he is allowed to serve him is managed via other dynamics, but at least the agents can ping each other and really see what's going on. OpenClaw is a good example. We have the technology optimists and the idea, it's a very dystopian idea, but yes, we are trusting probably very soon in some domains, in secure environments, the agents to do their thing. We will judge them. The outcomes will need to be just, right, correct, and consequent. But it might be that we arrive at a time with what they exactly exchanged and how they got there becomes a little bit blurry for the human. Therefore, but let me first discuss this. We have a little demo at the very end. How you organize agent to agent is emerging knowledge, but there are a few architectures, theoretical architectures you need to take into account. The first one is a very obvious one, the sequential architecture. Somebody has a question, you ask your question to an agent, that agent with his own context, with his own model, tries to answer and then passes it on to the other agent, and then it outputs the answer. Or query to a sales agent, then to a Snowflake agent, and then the answer. Sequential architecture. The second big architecture, and there's a lot being written about that, is one agent is the orchestrator. And look how the visual is quite the same with how we showed at level 3, but this time it doesn't delegate or execute gateway services. It really calls other agents, the CRM agent, the service agent, finance agent, who on their own have access to their own systems and are capable of answering back to the user. All right. Then there's a variation where the human is not in the loop anymore. It just acts as some kind of supervisor, where the Salesforce agent via a gateway conversates with the custom agent or the ERP agent, and they actually, their outputs are being monitored by an agent bus or a gateway. Now, last but not least, I'm going to ask 6 minutes of your time, a little demo of A2A multi-agent. I'm going to spin up my visual code for a moment. I have running locally 3 agents, a sales agent, a service agent, and a marketing agent. They are making use of the A2A protocol, means they are entitled to, ask each other questions. To make it very practical, and sorry for the code on the screen, well, code, here you see the business card of my service agent. He has a name, he has a description, and more importantly, he has skills. Now, how does that work, or how do you need to think about that? And for doing so, I hope it's still running. Yes. I am Tim, and I have a question. My question is, I want to sell 10 laptops to Biztory, but I don't know as a human, what is the best deal we technically can provide for them? So I'm going to ask that question to the sales agent. What is the best deal we can do for Biztory selling 10 laptops. Boom, I hit enter. What happens? I ask a question, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit, to the sales agent. Yes, it's Hans, for those who know them, but here he is the sales agent. Under the hood, everything has already executed, but we will walk step by step to see what actually happens. I ask a task to the sales agent. The sales agent, independently of my request, decides, to ask that question, I need to check in with my marketing agent. So you see the arrow, there's a discovery request going to that agent. And for the people here, it's actually happening here. So discover from the sales agent to the marketing sales agent. The marketing agent will see, there's a request. I'm going to send what I am capable of delivering to the sales agent. You see here, cart OK. What does that mean? Because the marketing agent, and you see it nicely here, has, in my case, 3 capabilities. It's allowed to get active promotions, get a goodwill offer or create a goodwill offer, and even create a campaign. So the marketing agent responds back to the sales agent with what he is capable to do. Fine. He stores it in, the sales agent stores it in his context, and next he decides to the fact that he also needs the service agent. So discovery arrow from the sales agent going to the service agent. Service agent receives it, and he's going to response. Service agent, Arend, who is, by the way, helping me technically today hosting the session. Thank you, Arend, for being in my example as the service agent. The agent asks requests with, I can handle a complaint for you, I can get the support history for you, I can check the order state. And now I'm going to speed up. As you see, communication is happening, not with me, with the agents. The only at the very end, there is this feedback loop, response loop, that the sales agent has done his task, and he will, and I'm sorry that I don't have the output here, but he will provide me with from, hey, this is what you can offer to Biztory, these are the vouchers that's currently active, this is what they historically have bought with us, so therefore this and this and that. So long story short, here we see visually an A-to-A example, a very simple one, because no, it's not connected to my Salesforce, it's just operating on little data sets locally here, but just to show you, to give you a mental reasoning on where you can get. All right, 2 minutes and I'll wrap up. So I showed you how to move up to the really multi-agent framework. Benefits, modularity, separate agents make it easier to develop you can isolate them, test them, and maintain agentic systems. Specialization, you can create expert agents focused on specific domains, which helps with the overall system performance. And control, you can explicitly control how agents communicate. Now, this brings us to the very last slides. What have we seen? When you speak about agent maturity, these 5 things are very important. The brain, what is the agentic operating model capable of? This is the cognitive engine. It's about the agentic operating model or context. Is it just following the hard-coded scripts as we saw in level 1? Or does it have the reasoning capacity to plan and execute complex workflows like we saw in level 3 and level 4? Then secondly, of course, data. This is the fuel. We have to ask, what data can the agent access? If it has no access to data, it probably can't reason that well. And the maturity grows as we move from silent static data to harmonized real-time feeds from across the entire enterprise architecture. Thirdly, actions. What capabilities do they have? What do you trust the agent with of doing? This defines the agent's utility. Does the agent talk, or can it actually do stuff for you? Maturity is measured by an agent's capability to potentially trigger different APIs, execute flows, end-to-end business processes, for example. Fourth, guardrails. I'm going off track here. You don't want to spend a few K a year having people playing rock, paper, scissors with your agent. This is a stupid example, but guardrails do matter. Don't let it live its life on its own. This is the most underrated pillar. What should the agent not do? As agents gain more autonomy, our safety nets must become more sophisticated as well. You cannot reach level 4 without a robust framework that thinks about the permissions and the behavioral boundaries of your agent. And finally, the use case. How does the agent work? Is it a personal assistant for one person, or is it a collaborative worker that supports a global supply chain? You see, big continuum. And at the bottom, trust, of course. Trust is the base of all IT projects and projects in general. As you increase the sophistication of the brain, data, and actions, your reliance on guardrails grows. Building agentic maturity isn't just a technical challenge, it's actually a journey of building organizational trust in the system's ability to represent your business currently. If you're going to screenshot or take away one slide today, I suggest you do it with this slide, because here comes together everything we have mentioned. You have on the x-axis your agentic maturity going from level 0 to level 4, the North Star, but also you need to evaluate on where the components constituted your agents are in terms of maturity. Again, we mentioned in the beginning, and I will use it as my closing remarks. It's a theoretical framework. It's a mental mind map. It's perfectly possible that you have a level 3 agent that, yes, uses multi-step logic across multiple domains. Yes, it uses a harmonized data view. But in terms of execution, we still want to have that human in the loop. Although what we have in mind is that it needs to mature into offloading complex processes. So you can be at different stages at different moments. Having said that, we can help with that at Biztory. We have an AI agents accelerator. We can get you up and running with Snowflake, Tableau, Salesforce, Databricks. We have the expertise. We were one of the first ones, for example, in Q1 2025 to put an Agentforce agent into production in the Benelux. We have really invested heavily. Come to us, talk to us, take your phone, scan the code. Really forward to talking with you all. If you're not a customer yet, looking forward to meet you. So yes, we can help to accelerate your move to agentic AI and transform insights into actions faster with a delivery framework we have especially designed to do so. For closing, we organize webinars on a regular basis, March, April, May, the whole year through. If you see a topic here and you're interested, scan the code again, make sure you put it in your agenda. Looking forward to seeing you there again, where one of my colleagues will help you and facilitate the webinar. Then there's nothing else to say. Thank you for choosing to be with us. I hope you saw something, learned something, or you got inspired in some kind of way. And before your lunch kicks in, are you ready to accelerate? I do hope so. My name was Tim. I was your host today, and wishing you a wonderful Wednesday, and see you next time.